Uh, Hello, people. It is I, Dark Symphony 777, and welcome to another fan fiction reading. It's been a while since I did one. Please like the video, like and subscribe, and click on the bell for notifications. Spread the word around. Before I get into it, I'm just sorry I sound off. I'm kind of going through some stuff, and I'm kind of down in the dump. I didn't get a chance to finish the next story I'm doing, so I thought it's been a while since I did a reading. I might as well just do this. Oh, enjoy. Uh, Treading lightly over the barren soil, Luna allowed the cosmic winds to carry her across the tranquil but dead landscape. The void of sound and life proved calming to the lunar princess, almost liberating. A realm safe from the chaos of evolution, overlooked by time since its very creation, with only the vast starry sky above as his only passing friend. Though she had been a resident of this forsaken satellite for 1,000 years, Luna often found herself coming back in times of reflections and respite. When in want of solitude, the moon was second to none. All was serene. Practically nothing had changed since she last visited, or even when she first arrived that millennium ago. The same craters, the same crest of lunar dust, forever untouched. Not a single stone turned, a hole dug, nothing at all disturbed. In a sense, it was a picture of unblemished purity, perpetually unchanged. Her silent flight brought her near the center of one of the lunar seas, vast stretches of volcanic rock, long cooled and with a deeper shade of gray that marred an otherwise white surface. Even when the mare and the moon disappeared with the release of its prisoner, several of these off-colored planes remained, making for portraits to be interpreted by both the academic and average moongazer. Yet a different sort of grazing was on Luna's mind at the moment. Slowing her guide, she touched softly down on the dusty surface, leaving a firm imprint of her gilded shoes in the cold soil. She took a moment to bask in the all-encompassing stillness of her domain, then looked up to the orb from whence she was born. As her eyes fixed on that spear of blue, her mouth became agape. For centuries she had looked to that spear, longing to return, and looking at it she knew something was off. The continents she had seared into her mind were of different shape and positions, and the oceans appeared different as well. Furthermore, it seemed to radiate a soft crimson, almost like a sun bereft of warmth. She wasn't looking to a Christia, it wasn't even her planet. Before she could react any further, Luna sensed a break in the stillness nearby. It is quite the sight, wouldn't you agree? She turned to the right and discovered the source of the disturbance. Only a few yards away stood an odd being of slim, ape-like stature. Though clothed in a flowing dress of deepest black, with a red sash embroidered with gold threading shaped into mythical designs. A similarly pristine headdress sat atop its head, from which lengths of flawless golden hair seemed to flow out and shimmer like an angelic spring. The creature's exposed skin, from its cheeks to its outstretched hands, were completely unblemished and pale like the very moon, giving an immaculate air that rivaled Luna's, as well as one of divine femininity. Luna took a few steps toward the newcomer before addressing it. "Who are you?" "Just a sagacious spirit, come to enjoy the isolation of this untainted realm," she calmly answered, never shifting her poise in addressing the alicorn. "It really is a privilege very few have the capability to enjoy, though not one I prefer to share, if I'm to be frank." "Then, are you some kind of celestial deity? Or traveler from the stars?" "No, nothing quite as romantic as that. I was originally born in this place, so I'm anything but a traveler. Born here, on the moon." Luna took another step closer. "But I have been here for 1,000 years, and I have never found nor felt another living being." "That may be because I don't fall under what could be considered living, in the traditional sense, anyway." The being looked to a confused Luna with a soft smile, revealing a pair of striking red pupils. "Or it might be that this moon isn't the one you know." Luna paused a moment to consider that possibility. "If that's so, then how could it be?" Putting doubts aside momentarily, she pointed a hoof up at the discolored spear. "If this isn't the moon I know, then what planet is that?" "Why, this one of particular moon orbit, of course. The curious spirit looked back at the orb. More ancient than the rock we stand on, revolving around a lone star for countless millennia, and rife with impurity, much like the one you hail from, I assume. Excuse me? No different. These worlds pulsate with life. Lessened beings caught up in constant strife, growth, destruction, and misery. It's about as filthy as it is fascinating. Filthy? Is that how you view those living things there? That's how I view life. So hopelessly entrophic, with no idea of what true purity is. Forever fated to live unclean, directionless lives. And you judge them as such because... Why, exactly? Luna scoffed. Because you come from a desolate realm? Because you find them beneath you? Without merit or worth? All because you are above them, as it were? Do not be so presumptuous, cursed one. Before Luna could react, the maiden continued. I have dwelled among them for quite some time, and experienced their innate impurities firsthand. Even after centuries of advancement, they haven't achieved even a fracture of the purity that my former kin can boast. She gave a sidelong glance to the alicorn, though it comes as so surprised that one seemingly as majestic of yourself would defend such flawed creatures, given that you were one of them. Flawed? But of course. The divine turned fully to face the regal mare, showing off her full ensemble before continuing, not giving Luna the chance to interject. There is a strong affinity to the moon in you. You hold sway of it, but you were born from the earth. As such, you permeate the same stench of death that surrounds all living beings. You have witnessed it, even delivered it. 1,000 years in this realm cannot wash the impurities of morality, fear, anger, remorse, sorrow, hate. You carry those tainted emotions with you to this pure land, and rather than let them purify or wither away, you let them grow and fester, slowly to exact vengeance on those you despise most. How do you know all this? Because I myself seek vengeance, to the point of becoming spite incarnate. Furthermore, it is my talent to purify whatever I so choose. I can sense every flaw, every imperfection, cleanse it into oblivion. And given the impurities coursing through your very being, I would have no trouble eradicating you. At that moment, Luna felt a rise in power as the calm deity began to radiate with a strong force. From beyond the being, there arose and spread out 7 tapered tails of pink energy, resembling ethereal trills. The midnight alicorn braced herself for the impending conflict that never came. The shift in power had stalled, leaving the two new lunar emissaries to simply look at each other. However, my want of violence has been slated some time ago, the maiden said, as the pink trails evaporated into nothing. Ironically enough, those very same impure creatures have tempered my desire for revenge, if only for the time being. But even so, that in and of itself gave reason to reconsider what I originally observed from them. Then what was the point of goading me with all your talk of filth and imperfection? Just making conversation, she replied plainly. Forgive my rudeness. It's in my nature to induce spite wherever I may go. But I speak to you because you have the same wants as those earth dwellers, including that of companionship. Since you cannot rid yourself of such frivolous emotions, a period of solitude is never fully acceptable to you. Even now, I can imagine you are growing tired of being in this peaceful realm, putting up with my company. That is true. The appeal seems to have gone for now, but I don't understand why I'm here, exactly. This moon isn't my own, and how have I come to be here? Because there remains some lingering a doubt within you, I imagine. You still believe that such a place as this where you truly belong, even though you were born and raised amidst so much life. But that is rather minuscule, I can tell you. The remorse and hate you carry with you to this pure land, to mold and grow over centuries. It is all quite diminished. Seems you had some considerable tempering as well. Luna bowed her head, averting her gaze. That I have. Still hold attachment, fondness for that unclean realm. No doubt, you have others who hold dear still, even if they wronged you, vice versa. That through all your bitter feelings, some tenderness survived, carrying you to this day. Yes, it really has. A moment of silence fell between the two, until I was never that fortunate. There is no one left who cares for me. No one responsible has yet to face my wrath. I sacrificed my very identity to wrought vengeance on her. Yet, I find myself lacking in resolve given recent events. This moment in time, this serenity, is but a fleeting rest for me. The deity turned away and looked to that stranger yet familiar spear. Yet we have walked similar paths. Both of us have faced exile, but whereas you accepted back with open arms, my former kin remained to be toppled. The spirit turned and looked back over the expanse of the lunar sea. Lunar's gaze followed as well, only to be struck by an unbelievable sight. What had been stark emptiness there stood a dazzling city, with gleaming towers and structures the like of which the mare had never seen before. As she looked in awe, her companion resumed. They stand between me and the familiar of my goal. In time, I finally get through them, though how long I cannot say. For you, the deity looked toward her, smiling comfortably. Kind more than happily awaits your turn. Nah. Luna looked around, startled by the whisper, yet there was no one else to see. No. Nah. Another whisper, clearer and seemingly closer. The Alicorn then noticed the stars overhead were suddenly dimming out, creating a growing pool of darkness within the cosmos. Wake up, sis. Then, to her worry, she saw the brilliant city fading away like a mirage, practically evaporating at a rapid rate before her eyes. Even the lunar surface began to recede into non-existence. Time to... up, Luna. As panic set in, she looked to the black-clad maiden, then paused. Even with the universe fading away, including herself, the deity still had that serene, calming smile. And in those final moments, Luna felt at peace as well. Luna! Can you hear me, Luna? I said it's time to wake up. To get up! Luna groaned at the soft voice and gentle nudging of her shoulder before reluctantly opening her eyes. She found herself lying snugly between the hefty covers of her royal bed, tucked in the center of her private bed chambers. Rolling to her side, she noted the orange stripes of light coming through the gaps in the thick mauve curtains. More importantly, she noted the alabaster alicorn hovering close by, the source of her disturbance. Finally awake, sister? She asked faithfully, failing to hold back a teasing grin. Luna shifted beneath the covers, bringing up the hood to wipe some of the remaining sleep from her eyes, as well as a sort of conscious response. Celestia, what are you doing here? She half mumbled. It's time to raise the moon. You didn't show up, so I came looking for you. Celestia softly chuckled. Did you sleep well? You look so cute and peaceful. I was tempted to let you dream for another 10 minutes ago. Dream? Was that all it was? Luna thought as she sat up. Suddenly it made sense, given the specter she saw, and the surreal sights that still appeared recognizable. Had some remnant of the Tantabus come to torment her? It was so good see you get a good rest. Like back when we were fillies. Celestia continued to dote over the restful alicorn. We should really go. We don't want ponies to worry over not seeing the moon appear on time. Oh, of course. Just allow me to freshen up, sister, and we'll be on our way. I'll just wait outside until you do, Luna. Don't take too long. Luna leaned down and gave her sister an affectionate cheek nuzzle, then turned and left Luna to her preparations. For some moments, Luna sat there, assessing her sister's remarks. She did feel well rested. Furthermore, she felt relaxed, grateful even. Nothing at all like when the Tantabus had inflicted on her. Getting up from her comfy confines, she further mused on the aspects of the dream while making herself presentable. Whatever that had been, some factual influence, or a simple decompression of her psyche, she felt rather good about herself. It was rather strange and hard to explain. There was also an eagerness filling her out to be among the citizens. Spurred by such a notion, she put the finishing touches on her regalia and hurried out. Her sister was waiting just out her chamber doors, ever patient and acknowledging her sibling with a smile. Already? Luna nodded. Yes, let us proceed. Celestia nodded, and the royal sisters began trotting to the main hall. In the back of Luna's mind, she felt relief being by her sister's side once again. Like a weight lifted off her, she could only barely register any of the lingering guilt that usually arose whenever she was in Celestia's presence. A stroke of fortune that the world she had long been separated from had become one of acceptance and forgiveness. All that was left was to let it in, with little heed for the transgressions of the past. Allowing herself a warm smile, she sidled close to Celestia, eager to fulfill her knightly duties once more. But first, she needed to summon forth her steadfast companion. After all, what is an equestrian knight without his precious guiding moonlight?